Hi Equals, it's Kim, and today we're still talking about LGBT youth, partially around the juvenile justice system, but actually much broader. I do believe that a lot of people who have faith, who have deep-rooted issues with people who are LGBT, mean well. In their minds, they are encouraging, leading, shaming people into lives of holiness. I'm going to challenge that a little bit because I don't think that the way to lead somebody to a life of holiness is to shame them into it. And I don't think that in efforts to change someone in order to live a life of holiness, that we are embracing God's full creation. And I'm going to be talking in another video, we'll do this one, about the breadth of God's creation around sexual orientation and gender identity. So we'll carry that through as a theme for a little while. Maybe this section will be called the abundance of creation or something. I'll see what I decide to name it in the end. But what I wanted to talk about today, particularly people's sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, which we all have. We all have a sexual orientation. We all have a gender identity. Sometimes we don't think we do. But so sexual orientation, as it's defined in laws that deal with sexual orientation, it is defined generally as heterosexuality, so being straight, or in the minds of a lot of people, living a life of holiness. Bisexuality, we've defined these terms before, but again, very briefly, innately you are attracted to all people. It's kind of a pansexual definition, but let's go with it for right now. And homosexuality, which means that you're innately attracted to people of the same sex or the same gender. And then there's also another sexual orientation that sometimes we run across. It's usually not included in legalese. I totally don't have a problem with it being added, but that is asexual. So those are folks who are not attracted to anyone. It's just not in their thing, and that's fine. So if you think of those four, they pretty much cover all legal orientations. There may, I'm not an expert, there may be some other orientations that we as a society have determined are illegal, but that's a different issue. It's not included in the definition. So for the sake of collecting demographic information around sexual orientation, we're talking about heterosexual, bisexual, homosexual, or asexual. And then within bisexual, we may be talking about pansexual. So that's the limit. That's the scope of the conversation when we're talking about collecting data or demographics. I often have people, ask me, well, how many gay people are we talking about that live in X space, or how many gay people or LGBT people are homeless? And we can't actually say because nobody's counting. Nobody's keeping that demographic information. In order to be able to tell somebody how many we're talking about, we have to collect demographic information. Plain and simple. Whether we whether we think it's a question that should be asked, it's just needs to in order to be able to answer the question, how many? In asking the question, we also have to ask it of everyone, because again, you may think your gaydar is really good, but you may miss people, so it's a question that has to be asked of everyone. And I think it makes at least some straight people very, very uncomfortable. It may make some not straight people very, very uncomfortable to answer those questions. We need to move through the discomfort. If you are straight, you identify as heterosexual. Your gender identity is cisgender. Plain and simple. It's not that big a deal. In conclusion today, I'd love to have you put in the comments below your thoughts. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, hit the bell so that you get notified every time I do a new video. Let's have a conversation in the comments. Have a good week. Equals. Bye.